15 years ago, Sophia was a young woman with stars in her eyes and a diamond ring on her finger. She'd been dating Ethan Carter, a charming software engineer with a quick wit and a steady job at a rising tech firm in downtown Chicago. At 23, Sophia felt like she'd hit the jackpot. Ethan was dependable, kind, and had a smile that could light up the gloomiest winter day. After 2 years of dating, they were engaged, and Sophia couldn't wait to introduce him to her family. She envisioned a warm family dinner at her parents' suburban Oak Park home, where her mom, Linda, would serve her signature pot roast, and her dad, Robert, would grill Ethan about the Cubs' latest season. It was supposed to be the start of a joyful chapter, a moment to celebrate love and family. But what unfolded was a tangled web of jealousy, betrayal, and a sister's obsession that nearly derailed Sophia's happily ever after. The Bennett family wasn't perfect, but Sophia had always thought of them as typical Midwestern folks, hardworking, close-knit, with a penchant for Sunday barbecues and heated debates over board games. Her older sister, Emily, 26 at the time, was the wild card. 2 years Sophia's senior, Emily had always been the golden child in their parents' eyes. Despite her string of missteps, she'd flunked out of college, struggled to hold down a job, and once famously melted a plastic cutting board in the oven while trying to warm up leftovers. She's just finding her way, their mom would say, brushing off Emily's blunders. Meanwhile, Sophia, the efficient, overachieving younger sister, was expected to pick up the slack. From a young age, she'd been taught to let Emily shine, even if it meant dimming her own light. It was an unspoken rule. Emily, the eldest, was fragile, and Sophia, the capable one, had to make sacrifices. When Sophia brought Ethan home, the evening started like a Hallmark movie. Her parents adored him. Robert bonded with Ethan over their shared love of craft beer, and Linda couldn't stop raving about his dependable vibe. But the mood shifted when Emily walked in, her hair still damp from a late shift at the local diner. The moment her eyes landed on Ethan, something changed. Sophia noticed it instantly. Her sister's face flushed. Her gaze lingered too long. And when she shook Ethan's hand, she held on like she was auditioning for a rom-com. Nice to meet you, Emily purred, her voice dripping with a sweetness Sophia had never heard before. As sisters, they had an almost telepathic bond, and Sophia could feel it. Emily was smitten. At first, Sophia brushed it off as a fleeting crush. Emily was impulsive, always chasing whims, a new hobby, a new hairstyle, a new dream that fizzled out by next week. But Emily's behavior grew bolder. She'd find excuses to brush against Ethan, laugh too loudly at his jokes. And once, when Sophia stepped out to grab dessert, Emily leaned in close and asked, "Don't you think Sophia's a bit immature for you?" Ethan, ever the gentleman, laughed it off, but later told Sophia it felt like a scene from a bad soap opera. She tripped and, accidentally, flashed her yoga pants. He said, chuckling, "It was so obvious. It was almost funny." Sophia forced a smile, but inside, her stomach churned. She wanted to believe Emily wouldn't cross a line. But doubt crept in. Things escalated one chilly evening when Emily cornered Sophia in the hallway. Fresh from a shower and wrapped in a towel. "You need to call off the engagement," she declared, her voice sharp as ice. "Ethan's a player. You deserve better." Sophia blinked, stunned. "What proof do you have?" she asked. Emily's response? "It's a woman's intuition." Sophia almost laughed. Emily, who'd never had a serious boyfriend, was now an expert on men? Sophia had spent years building trust with Ethan, watching his character shine through late-night talks and quiet moments. She wasn't about to let her sister's baseless intuition derail her future. "Thanks, Em. I'll be careful," she said dismissively, hoping to end the conversation. But Emily didn't stop. She became relentless, seizing every chance to flirt with Ethan when Sophia wasn't looking. She'd grab his arm, bat her eyelashes, and once even asked for his number, in case of emergencies. Ethan, caught in an awkward spot as Sophia's sister, couldn't outright reject her without causing a scene. "She's your sister, Soph," he'd say, exasperated. "I don't want to make things weird." Meanwhile, Sophia's parents, Linda and Robert, turned a blind eye. They'd always coddled Emily, excusing her clumsiness and lack of ambition as part of her charm. Sophia, on the other hand, was expected to be the rock, steady, reliable, and selfless. It stung, the way her parents seemed to prioritize Emily's feelings over hers. But Sophia had learned to cope by focusing on her own path. The real blow came the night before the wedding. Sophia was in her childhood bedroom, folding her veil, when she overheard a heated argument downstairs. Emily's voice rang out, shrill and desperate. "It's not fair. How can Sophia get married before me? I'm the older sister. She's making me look pathetic." Sophia froze, her heart sinking. She expected her parents to defend her, to remind Emily that love wasn't a competition. Instead, she heard Linda's soft voice, "Don't worry, Emily. We'll fix this." Fix this? What did that mean? Then came Robert's words, heavy as a gavel. "We won't go to the wedding. Emily, will that make you happy?" Sophia's breath caught. Her parents were choosing Emily's tantrum over their own daughter's wedding day. She stood in the hallway, clutching the banister, as Emily let out a satisfied sigh. The betrayal cut deep, sharper than the winter wind outside. Sleep eluded Sophia that night. She lay awake, replaying her parents' words, Emily's smugness, and the sinking realization that her family might not be there for her biggest moment. But as dawn broke, painting the Chicago skyline in hues of pink and gold, Sophia made a choice. She wouldn't let their absence define her day. She was marrying Ethan, the man who made her laugh until her sides ached, who held her hand through every storm. This was her chance to build a new family, one rooted in love, not obligation. The wedding took place in a charming venue overlooking Lake Michigan, with snowflakes dancing outside the stained glass windows. Sophia walked down the aisle, radiant in her gown, but her heart ached as she scanned the crowd and saw no sign of her parents. She'd had to tell Ethan's family the truth. "My sister objects to the marriage, so my parents won't be here." The words felt like ashes in her mouth. Ethan's parents, Diane and Tom, were stunned. "Who skips their own daughter's wedding?" Diane whispered, her eyes wide, but then she took Sophia's hand, her grip warm and firm. "You're not alone, sweetheart. We're your family now." Tom piled on, his voice gruff with emotion. "Let's make this a day to remember." "Kiddo." Ethan, ever her anchor, pulled her close and whispered, "I'm here, Soph. We're building something new today." As the ceremony unfolded, surrounded by Ethan's warm, boisterous family, Sophia felt a weight lift. Diane's laughter, Tom's bear hugs, and Ethan's steady presence filled the void her family left behind. She vowed to create a life filled with love, not resentment, and as they exchanged rings, Sophia knew she was stepping into a brighter future. 15 years later, Sophia's life was a tapestry of joy and chaos. She and Ethan had 3 kids, a whip-smart daughter, Ava, who could organize a charity bake sale in her sleep, and 2 rambunctious sons, Lucas and Noah, who turned their suburban home into a playground of Nerf battles and impromptu dance-offs. Ethan's career had soared. They'd bought a charming craftsman house in Evanston, complete with a wraparound porch and a backyard perfect for summer barbecues. Sophia, now a part-time consultant, juggled motherhood with her love of baking, often testing new recipes for her kids' school events. Life wasn't perfect, but it was hers, built on love and resilience. Then, one snowy afternoon, the past came knocking. Sophia opened her front door to find her parents and Emily standing there, looking like ghosts from a forgotten winter. She hadn't seen them in years, having kept her distance after the wedding fiasco. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice cold as the wind whipping through the street. Emily, now 41 and still single, spoke first. "We need a favor." Linda chimed in, her eyes pleading. "It's something only you can do." Sophia's heart raced, a mix of curiosity and dread. Then came the bombshell. "We want you to give Ethan to Emily." Sophia's jaw dropped. Ethan, who'd just walked in with a mug of coffee, nearly choked. "Excuse me?" he sputtered. Robert explained, his voice faltering. "Emily's struggling. Her job at the call center fell through, and she's alone. She's always loved Ethan, You've had your time with him. Sophia, can't you let her have a chance? Emily stood there, chin high, as if this was the most reasonable request in the world. Sophia's mind reeled. Were they serious? After 15 years of marriage, 3 kids, and a life built together, they wanted her to hand over her husband like he was a piece of furniture? Ethan, ever the quick thinker, pulled Sophia aside and whispered, "Let's have some fun with this." A mischievous glint sparkled in his eyes, and Sophia nodded, catching his drift. Turning back to her family, she put on her best poker face. "Emily, do you really love Ethan that much?" Emily's eyes lit up, her voice fervent. "Yes. I've loved him since the day we met. It should have been me." Sophia bit her lip to keep from laughing. "Well, if you love him that much, I'll step aside," she said, her tone dripping with mock sincerity. Ethan jumped in, his voice earnest. "Truth is, Emily, I've always had a soft spot for you." Emily's face glowed with triumph. But Sophia wasn't done. "Of course, Ethan's quitting his job to be with you 24/7. No more tech gigs. Just you and him, glued at the hip." Ethan nodded solemnly. "I'll follow you everywhere, Emily, even to the grocery store, the gym, everywhere." Emily's smile faltered. "But I'm not working either," she stammered. "We don't need money to be happy," Ethan declared, his eyes twinkling. Sophia piled on. "Oh, and if we divorce, I'm taking half the assets. So you'll need to cover his share. Mom, Dad, you'll help, right?" The room fell silent. Linda and Robert exchanged panicked glances, their earlier enthusiasm evaporating. Emily's face crumpled. "Wait, this isn't right," she protested. "You can't steal him from your sister," Linda added, suddenly backtracking. Sophia couldn't hold it in anymore. "Steal? Emily, you haven't spoken to us in 15 years. And you think Ethan's in love with you? That's not love, it's a fantasy." Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Emily, you're Sophia's sister, and I respect that. But I'm not interested. I've got a family, a life. This isn't a game." Emily's bravado shattered. She burst into tears, a mix of frustration and embarrassment. Linda tried to comfort her, but her face betrayed confusion, as if she was finally seeing the absurdity of their request. Robert mumbled an apology, but Sophia was done. "This is the last time we do this," she said, her voice steady. "Don't come back expecting handouts, or my husband." She closed the door, the sound of Emily's sobs fading into the snowy night. 5 years later, Sophia's life was fuller than ever. Ava, now a teenager, was acing her debate team and gently nudging her mom to join a yoga class to burn off those holiday cookies. Lucas and Noah had discovered a love for hip-hop dance, winning trophies at local competitions and dreaming of joining a famous dance crew. Ethan's parents, Diane and Tom, were regular visitors, bringing homemade lasagna and stories that kept the kids in stitches. Sophia had found peace, surrounded by a family that chose her every day. Emily, meanwhile, remained single, her life a cycle of short-lived jobs and impulsive decisions. She'd been banned from local dating events after causing a scene. And her parents, now in their late 60s, worked part-time to support her. Sophia heard through the grapevine that they regretted their indulgence. But she felt no need to reconnect. Her focus was on her kids, her husband, and the life they'd built, a life where love, not obligation, held them together. As winter approached, Sophia planned a family trip to a cozy spa in Wisconsin, dreaming of hot tubs and starry nights. She smiled, thinking of her daughter's insistence on healthy eating, and her son's wild dance moves. Life wasn't perfect, but it was hers, and she wouldn't trade it for anything. "Here's to new beginnings," she whispered, raising her coffee mug to the snow falling outside. A quiet toast to the family she'd chosen and the strength she'd found within herself. The snow fell gently outside the historic venue in Chicago's Gold Coast, where twinkling lights framed the arched windows overlooking Lake Michigan. It was February 2010, and Sophia Bennett, 23, stood at the altar in a flowing ivory gown, her heart pounding with a mix of joy and heartbreak. Her parents, Linda and Robert, weren't there. Neither was her sister, Emily, whose jealousy had torn a rift through their family. Just days ago, Sophia had overheard Emily's tearful plea. It's not fair for Sophia to marry before me. Worse, her parents had caved, choosing to skip their daughter's wedding to appease Emily's tantrum. The betrayal stung like frostbite. But as Sophia gripped her bouquet of white roses, she felt a warmth spreading from the faces around her. Ethan's family. Her new family, ready to embrace her. Ethan Carter, her groom, stood tall in his navy suit, his hazel eyes locking with hers in a promise that needed no words. The ceremony was intimate, filled with the laughter of Ethan's cousins, the scent of pine from the winter-themed decor, and the soft hum of a string quartet playing Can't Help Falling in Love. But the absence of Sophia's family cast a shadow. She'd had to deliver the painful truth to Ethan's parents. Diane and Tom, just hours before. My sister objects to our marriage. So my parents won't be here. The words felt like swallowing glass. Diane's face fell, her warm brown eyes wide with disbelief. Their own daughter's wedding? She whispered. Tom, a burly retired firefighter, shook his head, muttering, that's just wrong. But then Diane reached for Sophia's hand, her grip steady and maternal. Listen, sweetheart, she said, her voice like a warm blanket. You're not walking this path alone. We're your family now, and we're gonna make this day shine. Tom clapped a hand on her shoulder, his gruff voice softening. Let's give you a wedding to remember, kid. As Sophia walked down the aisle, Ethan's smile anchored her. When Diane and Tom joined them at the altar, their presence filled the void left by her parents. Diane whispered, You're radiant, Sophia. Don't let anyone dim your light. Ethan, sensing her nerves, leaned in during their vows and murmured, We're building something unstoppable today. The crowd chuckled as he slipped the ring onto her finger with a playful wink. And Sophia felt her heart lift. The reception was a whirlwind of joy. Ethan's cousins led an impromptu dance-off to Sweet Caroline, and Diane's homemade tiramisu had guests begging for seconds. As Sophia and Ethan swayed to their first dance, snowflakes swirling outside, she made a silent vow. She'd build a family rooted in love, not obligation. That night, under a starlit Chicago sky, Sophia became Mrs. Carter, ready to forge her own path. 15 years later, Sophia's life was a vibrant tapestry of love and chaos. Now 38, she and Ethan lived in a charming craftsman home in Evanston, with a sprawling backyard where their 3 kids, Ava, 14, and twin boys, Lucas and Noah, 10, turned every day into an adventure. Ava, with her mother's sharp mind, was a star debater at school, organizing fundraisers with the precision of a CEO. Lucas and Noah, meanwhile, were bundles of energy, staging Nerf wars in the living room and practicing TikTok dance moves in the garage. Ethan's tech career had flourished. He'd risen to lead developer at a startup, and their home buzzed with stability and laughter. Sophia, now a part-time marketing consultant, poured her creativity into baking. Her kitchen often dusted with flour from her latest experiments, blueberry scones for Ava's debate team or snickerdoodles for the boys' soccer games. Sophia had kept her distance from her family since the wedding. The pain of their absence lingered, and she'd chosen to protect her peace. She sent occasional holiday cards but shared little about her life. Not even her new address. Her focus was on her kids, Ethan, and the tight-knit bond with Diane and Tom, who'd become her rock. Diane's Sunday potlucks, filled with her famous lasagna and stories of her youth, were a highlight, and Tom's bear hugs made Sophia feel like a daughter again. Life wasn't perfect. Lucas once redecorated the walls with permanent marker, and Ava's teenage eye rolls were a daily ritual, but it was hers. And Sophia cherished every messy, beautiful moment. Then, one frigid January afternoon in 2025, the past came crashing back. Sophia was sipping hot cocoa, helping Ava with a school project. When the doorbell rang, she opened it to find Linda, Robert, and Emily standing on her porch, their breath visible in the icy air. They looked out of place, like relics from a life she'd left behind. What do you want? Sophia asked, her voice sharp. Emily, now 41, her hair streaked with gray, stepped forward. We need a favor, she said, her tone oddly confident. Linda's eyes darted nervously, but she added, "It's something only you can do." Sophia's stomach twisted. Then Robert dropped the bomb. "We want you to give Ethan to Emily." The room seemed to spin. Ethan, who'd just walked in with a tray of cookies, froze, nearly dropping them. "Come again?" he said, his voice a mix of shock and amusement. Linda rushed to explain, her words tumbling out. "Emily's in a tough spot. Her job at the retail store fell apart. And she's still single. She's always loved Ethan. You've had 15 years with him. Sophia, can't you share?" Emily stood tall, her chin lifted as if this was a perfectly reasonable request. Sophia's mind raced. Were they serious? After 15 years, 3 kids, and a life built brick by brick, they thought she'd hand over her husband like a used car? Ethan caught Sophia's eye, a mischievous glint sparking. "Let's play along," he whispered, his grin devilish. Sophia nodded, suppressing a laugh. She turned to Emily, her voice syrupy sweet. "You really love Ethan that much?" Emily's face lit up, her words fervent. "Yes. I've loved him since the moment I saw him. It should have been me." Sophia leaned in, feigning sincerity. "Well, if you love him that much, I'll step aside." Ethan jumped in, his tone dramatic. "Emily, I've been hiding my feelings for you all these years." Emily's eyes sparkled with triumph. But Sophia wasn't done. "Of course, Ethan's quitting his job to be with you full-time. No more coding. Just you two. Together every second." Ethan nodded solemnly. "I'll be by your side." Emily, at the mall. The nail salon. Even when you're binge-watching reality TV. Emily's smile wavered. "But, I'm not working either," she stammered. "Love doesn't need money," Ethan declared, his eyes twinkling. Sophia piled on. "Oh, and if we divorce, I'm taking a hefty chunk of the assets. Mom, Dad, you'll cover Ethan's share, right?" Linda and Robert froze, their faces paling. Emily's confidence crumbled. "This isn't right," she protested, her voice rising. "You can't steal him from your sister." Robert chimed in, backtracking fast. Sophia couldn't hold it in anymore. "Steal? Emily, you haven't called in 15 years. And you think Ethan's pining for you? That's not love, it's a delusion." Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Emily, you're Sophia's sister, and I respect that. But I'm married. I love my wife, my kids, my life. You need to let this go." Emily's face crumpled, tears spilling as she realized the fantasy she'd built was collapsing. Linda tried to soothe her, but her own expression was one of dawning regret. Robert mumbled, "We didn't mean for it to go this far." Sophia's patience snapped. "You chose Emily over me 15 years ago. And you're doing it again. But this is my family now. And you're not welcome here." She pointed to the door, her voice steady. "Don't come back." As Emily's sobs echoed through the snow, Sophia closed the door, her heart heavy but resolute. 5 years later, Sophia's life was a symphony of joy. At 43, she was thriving, balancing her consulting gigs with baking marathons that filled their home with the scent of cinnamon and vanilla. Ava, now 19, was a freshman at Northwestern, majoring in journalism and already pitching stories to local papers. Lucas and Noah, 15, had become local dance sensations, their hip-hop routines earning trophies at Chicago festivals. They'd even started a YouTube channel, vowing to make it big like Post Malone. Ethan's startup had been acquired, giving them the freedom to plan a family trip to a Colorado ski lodge for spring break. Diane and Tom remained their biggest cheerleaders, hosting game nights where Tom's competitive streak over Uno had everyone in stitches. Emily, meanwhile, was stuck in a cycle of her own making. At 46, she was still single, having been fired from a barista job for snapping at customers. Her attempts at speed dating ended in disaster, and she'd been blacklisted from local matchmaking events after a public meltdown. Linda and Robert, now in their 70s, worked part-time at a grocery store to support her, their faces etched with the weight of their choices. Sophia heard whispers of their regret but felt no urge to reconnect. Her family, Ethan, Ava, Lucas, Noah, Diane, and Tom, was her haven, a testament to the life she'd built from the ashes of betrayal. as Sophia decorated the Christmas tree with her kids, stringing popcorn and laughing as Noah accidentally ate half the garland. She felt a quiet pride. She'd turned pain into strength, choosing love over resentment. To new beginnings, she toasted, raising a glass of mulled wine as snow fell outside, her family's laughter echoing through the warmth of their home.